I'll take the time to remind everyone that chapter 250 is next, which is probably going to be a milestone chapter. And so something at least interesting should happen in this chapter, a big reveal of some sort. And I've done a video about this like way back in the day, but the chapter numbers in Kengan Omega seem to be fairly important. Chapter 50 was the return of Oma. Chapter 100 was about Jiraiya. I think it was the chapter where he got defeated. Chapter 150 was the day that Akoya thought of Ryuki as his successor. And chapter 200 was the chapter we got to go to the inside, one of the most important places when it comes to the lore of the Kengan verse. And so milestone chapters have a pretty good track record of having interesting stuff. It doesn't have to be big and bombastic, but they seem to be all important. But this chapter is of course about 249, and it was a very chill chapter for the most part. We got to, have a bit more of a conversation with Shen, at least some of the Kengan Association members did, and of course Koga, and quite a few interesting things happened here, at least in terms of what we learn about the Connector's role with the Worm and of course the Westwood faction. And that is that Shen Wulong doesn't seem to see them as his subordinates per se. At least that's what he says. The only thing that I would have to question, that of course we the audience know, is the fact that the Connector selected Yan to be the head of the Worm. And in that flashback, Yan sort of says that, hey, he's kind of like offloading the work as of course the head of the Worm to Yan, at least for the most part. And so you get the sense that the Connector did have authority to say, oh yeah, Yan, you're the new head of the Worm, it seems. And so he seems to be connected in that sense. And so either Shen Wulong might be, twisting the truth a bit, or if he's telling the truth, then it seems as though by sort of helping out the Worm, he's sort of, I guess he has some type of loyalty or attachment to the Worm as people that are devoted to him. And so he feels a sense of responsibility in that sense, if we were to take, of course, his statement as true. If he's lying, then of course this would be evidence that, oh yeah, the Shen Wulong's probably lying about this one, because he is appointing Yan as the head of the Worm, which is something he probably couldn't do if he wasn't at least a part of the organization or the head of the entire organization. But he seems to sort of reveal the Worm's plans here, although they kind of already have, like Yan did talk about it briefly, and that was of course world peace or world harmony. And that was the fact that of course it seems to revolve around the Connector, but also preventing the Connector from going, let's say, berserk. Now, I will probably have to do a video on this because I think now there's a lot more evidence that points to what is happening here when it comes to what the Worm are actually talking about. Because at first it seems as though the Worm are crazy because Shen Wulong seems to be fine. I mean, most of the Kengan community are talking about how Shen Wulong is a chill dude. How is it that the same guy could also destroy the world and is and the Worm have to kind of look out for him? And so I'm going to release that video hopefully later on in the week, just so that I can put everything together. But their goal does revolve around the Connector. And Shen Wulong's goal revolves around Ryuki and Oma, and not Lohan, which is very interesting as to why Shen Wulong seems to be excluding Lohan, who Yan confirmed is his own clone. Lohan said he's the clone of Shen Wulong. Yan also confirmed that. And so the reason why Lohan is being excluded here might be because of his own personality, I'm guessing, or some other complication of sorts. Either way, it doesn't seem like Shen Wulong has any real intentions of doing to Lohan what he's going to do to, of course, Oma and Ryuki. And, of course, Lohan thinks that, of course, Shen Wulong wants to transfer his memories to do the Huangshang process over to both of them. So that's what Lohan thinks is going on, and so that's the safest bet we'll go with as well. But in other news, we have some pretty interesting stuff going on with, of course, Ryuki and Oma here, because we actually get them in this chapter. And Ryuki goes to apologize for Adam for nearly killing him. And of course, what was interesting about this is that, of course, Adam seems to, of course, hit Ryuki in the head and is sort of mad that Ryuki is apologizing about nearly killing him, saying he's always prepared to die. But it seems as though, of course, Adam Dudley isn't really holding a grudge against Ryuki for what happened there. He just says he's gonna win next time. And so Ryuki's pretty happy that he's managed to get at least some form of forgiveness, of course. But with all that being said, they go back to, of course, Yamashita's building where he has, I think it's Yamashita Corporation or something, where he has his own little company. And of course, Shen Wulong and Joji are there because they had to move since Yan is going to start looking for them now. And Shen Wulong doesn't want Yan to find him, at least just yet. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens from this point on, because Oma might start, asking some more hard-hitting questions, right? In terms of, how is the connector as strong as he is? Because they haven't really gotten around to Shen Wulong's weakness at all. They've just been drinking and asking more random questions. And so maybe the next chapter we'll get the reveal of that or other stuff in the series. But I would say this is actually a pretty good chapter when it comes to the calm before the storm, let's say. Because the next match that will happen after this, more than likely, unless there's like a fight that breaks out, is probably going to be between the connector and whoever the Kengan Association picks. And it's probably going to be one of the most important matches in the entire series. I know it's probably the most hyped up at this point, because if they pick Kuroki, it's going to be a very, very big fight. Like, everyone's eyes will be on this fight. And so, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens from here on out. But yeah, it was a good chapter, all things considered. I think there's a lot here that seems to confirm some, theories about the connector, at least for myself. But for most people, I can understand if they weren't, some people like the Kengan series for the fights. And so the chill moments are there, are necessary, but are not exactly, held in high regard. And that's understandable. But I think the chapter was fairly good. But yeah, that's it. That's it for the review. If you liked the review, don't forget to like and sub, all that fun stuff. And until next time, take it easy.